Okie dokes. So, we're talking about our ID card here. And I included a number of different ID cards from colleges because they were the easiest to find. And I thought these were they're pretty big, clear, things like that. So I'm going to use those as our references today. And you could even think about, like, you can look at your ID because hopefully you're wearing it. And we can hopefully answer some questions about our discussion that way. Okay. So if you're wearing an ID card, especially in like a high school setting or a college setting, what do you think is some of the most important information that needs to be seen on your ID card? Well, why are you wearing it? Yeah, your name. Okay, so that's definitely important. The person's name, and we're definitely going to include their first and last name because there could be a lot of Johns or whatever the name is. Okay. What else do you think is really important if you're going to be wearing an ID card? What information needs to be on there?
Like school.
Definitely your school. Good. What else? One other
There's
thing.
like this number, like the coded numbers.
Yeah, sometimes people put a student ID in there. I don't think I required it for this one, but I have no problem if you want to include it. What else? Yes. Can you sign out, please? Yes, a picture is absolutely the number 3 thing I want you to have on your ID card. So that's pretty much the top 3 things I'm talking about. You're going to need a photo of the person. You're definitely going to need to have the name of the school, and you're definitely going to need to physically have that person's name like written out. So that's going to be most important for one of those 2 things. Okay. So since we're still talking about those here, when we're talking about like the photo of the person that's on here, let's talk about like then it's probably has too many people out. So give it like 2 more minutes. Okay.
No, like the thing is gone.
All right, then wait till the end of the demo and I'll sign you out. Okay. Thank you. So let's talk about like what the photo should look like. You don't have to put a picture of yourself on the photo ID card. That's totally fine. I think I put on here if you want to put like a celebrity or you want to use like a stock photo, that's absolutely fine as long as it's something that's like not offensive. Okay. But when you're looking at like the picture of a person on the card, like how much of the body are we looking to see on an ID card? Yeah, good. Perfect. Shoulders up is exactly what we're talking about. The head is really like what's distinguishing you from anyone else, especially if you think about a school where maybe they wear like uniforms. These kids are all in the same uniforms, and that picture is probably only the size of your thumb. So we need to make sure that it's really like cropped. So I had pulled up I just looked up school portrait. And for example, I'll pull up this little girl. So you could take a picture like this. I even think this is like too much. You could probably even crop right kind of like at the armpit, I guess you could say, just so you're really focusing on the person's head. And if you've seen like a license, same story. It's really like literally just the head. Sometimes you can't even see the shoulders. But awesome. Good to know. What else shall we include? So you talked about like the important stuff we need to see on the ID itself. Now let's talk about the design stuff so it's not just like a big white piece of plastic. Okay. So design wise, what are they putting on these cards to just also make them pretty too? What are some of the pretty elements? Yeah, they have some kind of background. And in all the cases here, how would you describe the backgrounds? What's going on? What did they decide to use?
Like the campus and school.
In their case, yeah, mostly these look like campus photos. This looks like their school logo. Okay. Would you say that these are like super photorealistic photos at the moment? Would you say they're like really in focus? Definitely not, right? You got the bus blurred in Boston, and same here, really faded out in colors. So they're either using like a blur or maybe they're using like a really light perhaps opacity, something like that to put that background information there to be pretty, but it's like out of focus and not distracting us from like identifying the person we know. Okay, cool. And let's talk about how many colors they're using. So let's talk about the Delaware one, the blue guy over here. So what are like the main colors you're pretty much seeing on this card? Blue and yellow. And what color is the font? White. Good. So they're sticking with like pretty much 3 colors. You could even say black is in there too if you want to say 4. Same with Amherst. What kind of colors are you seeing on the Amherst College one? White. What else?
I think it's gray.
Gray, and maybe like I don't know if it's more of a purple or a navy, but you one of those, okay? And the BU one, it is like a little bit busier, but it's pretty neutral. It's kind of tannish with this building. The bus is kind of tannish, so we're still trying to keep it somewhat neutral. Okay. So we're not going crazy with the color scheme either. Maybe like 3, 4-ish colors, nothing crazy. Now, if we're doing it for LHS, so we're probably not going to go too far outside of maroon, gray, black, white ish. Okay. Um, so any questions so far about what we're talking about? Okay. Excellent. We went over most of the requirements, and one of the handy things about this project, I'm going to give you a choice here. You can make your ID card horizontal or you can go vertical. You're only making one. I'm just giving you the option of whichever one you want to do. Also, because we all know these little like plasticky sleeves we use always break, I drew in the little I made a hole punch in the digital version so that way you're going to work around that little hole punch. Okay. So you get the option of whether you want your card to be horizontal or vertical, but we're going to include all the information we talked about. It's got to say Leonia High School, a first name and a last name. So again, you could use yours or you could do a famous person. Rectangle for a student photo. It could be you or a famous person. We're going to do it for basically freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You decide. And then I'm going to let you go on the internet and use find an LHS logo or like a Leonia Public Schools logo. And you can, if you want to work in other pictures, you're welcome to do that with like any kind of school imagery or like a mascot. But those should really be a photo. So we talked about we're welcome to adjust the blur and opacity, and we'll get into that too. And then it's going to be 50 points. So that's the stuff we're going to make sure it's graded on, and we'll make sure that will work out pretty well. Okay. Do you have any questions so far? We don't have a ton of time, but I'm going to give you this lovely worksheet. I printed it, so you're going to actually sketch on it. So I made 2 horizontal cards, and I made 2 vertical for you, but you're going to pick any 2 of these you want and make 2 sketches. If you want to do more, go for it, but you only need to do 2 sketches. I don't care if they're vertical, horizontal, one's vertical, one's horizontal. You do you. But I want you to include all the information we were talking about here. And the big thing I want us to keep in mind is like how big everything should be. So we're starting to plan out where everything's going to go. So I'm going to let me see if I could draw it on here. I'm going to pause this one sec. Okay, so you're going to get a hard copy of this. I'm just doing it in here for the sake of the demo because it's a little easier for me personally. And I'm going to do all my work in red so you can see what I'm doing. Guys, take a look up here. So what your plan is to pick any 2 of these cards and just make some rough pencil sketches. Don't even need to color things in, and decide how you're going to plan out the card. So there's my mouse here. So you're going to go in and I'm going to take my paintbrush and you're going to go in and start to draw and decide how big all these areas are going to be. So for lack of a better term, we can assume that this is going to be my photo. There we go. Very nice shirt the person has on. And then you want to make sure you're kind of checking off that you've done all these things. So I think I even forgot to put on a rectangle for the photo. So I did that part, which is good. And I need to decide, guys, take a look up here, please, where I'm going to end up putting like Leonia High School. We don't want to put LHS because, there's other schools like Lodi and other places that start with L I can't think of. But you're going to decide where that text is going to be. I know, obviously, your handwriting isn't going to match a font, but like size-wise is important. So maybe it's important that it's going to be really big. Certain parts are going to be really big. What do you think is going to be more important to be big, Leonia High School or the kid's name? Probably Leonia High School. If you're looking at your card, I think that, the name of the school, we want to identify that the kid goes here first, and then it's kind of like secondary that their information is there. And then I have to decide, wish I left some more room here to put the kid's name. And I want to have something to identify what grade they're in too. Or I'm going to write like class of whatever it is. Okay. So I'm using this space to kind of plan those areas out. I can always kind of divide it if I want to have different shapes. And I'm just starting to plan out the space. If you make a mistake on one and you don't like it, you can just put like an X on it and I won't grade that one if you're not happy with it. But you're going to start to plan things out. I'm not going to have you color it, but you can go in like this and do something and be like, this area is going to be maroon. And you could tell me like what color things will be. Okay. So do you have any questions so far about like what I'm looking for? Okay, cool. Well, so we have the rest of the period today to finish up our sketches. Let's pause this.